Hey everybody, Luke back once again, this time to give you a quick breakdown of some news that came out about Microsoft's attempt to buy Nintendo. Now, it had been rumored for a while that Microsoft, before the Xbox came out, looked at companies they could acquire to help them get into the video game industry. Now, Bloomberg has broken that they attempted to buy Nintendo back in 2000. Not just Nintendo, also Squaresoft and Midway Games. Apparently, though, the offer wasn't well received by Nintendo, who laughed at them and apparently walked out of the room. But we're going to quickly break this down, let you know what you need to know about this interesting piece of gaming history, and help you be more informed. Now, if you're new here, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up. It really does help us because it lets YouTube know you enjoy what we do here. So let's take a look at exactly what happened here. Now, this was a serious offer. Microsoft booked a meeting with Nintendo, sat down with them for an hour, and pitched them on the idea of Microsoft buying Nintendo. Now, according to people who were in the room, Nintendo laughed for an hour at them and then walked out and said they weren't interested. Now, often companies will look at possibilities of merging with their partners, their competitors, and more. That's not unusual. What is unusual here is that Microsoft actually got as far as to approve it enough that the board allowed Microsoft representatives to go to Nintendo and actually pitch them on a sale. And at that point, if Nintendo had said yes, Microsoft would have pulled the trigger and actually purchased Nintendo, which is kind of crazy to think Microsoft could own Mario. But they didn't stop there. They tried to pick up Squaresoft, a massive gaming company still today, but even more so, I think, back then, riding high off of some very successful games in the late 1990s. And remember, this was before the Xbox ever came out. The Xbox did not launch until 2001, so it was already in development. It was probably pretty far into the prototype phase, getting ready for mass production. But Microsoft was looking around. I'm sure if they had the ability to buy Nintendo, we would never get the Xbox as we know it today. It would still come up with some Microsoft-like technology like that, but it would be more wrapped in a Nintendo-type frame. Which raises the question, would that have been good for gaming? And I would argue that no, because at that point, Sega had already basically fallen out. They were on a downward spiral when it came to hardware. And to just have Nintendo and Sony be the two main gaming companies out there, I don't think would have been good for gaming. The fact that we have three major companies, even though Nintendo's had some hard times since 2000, three companies competing to fight over your dollar is a lot better than two, and a ton better than one. Having three companies innovate drives new technology, new products, new experiences. I think Microsoft entering the market with the Xbox made Sony better, and it made Nintendo better, also in the long run, as competition helped improve that. Though it is interesting to see they were not only looking for hardware from Nintendo, they probably were mostly interested in the software, as we see with Squaresoft and Midway Games purchases. What is interesting is if that had worked and they had purchased these companies, we may never have had Halo as we know it today. Microsoft instead went and purchased a bunch of other companies like Bungie, which was the creator of Halo, which subsequently was later spun off into an independent company. But it is interesting to think of what could have been. We may never have had Halo as we know it today. It may have come out, but it probably wouldn't have been as successful if it didn't have Microsoft really pushing it, really helping to invest in it to make sure the development was first rate, and giving it an exclusivity on Xbox, which helped it grow as the Xbox popularity grew. And it also, let's be honest, maybe the Xbox wouldn't have been so successful if they picked up Squaresoft and Midway Games and were unable to get such a massive blockbuster as Halo that really drove next-gen sales with the Xbox 360 as people rushed out to buy it to get Halo. And even people who didn't own Xbox, who saw their friends play Xbox, bought the Xbox to play Halo like their friends could. So it's very interesting to see what came of it. Though Microsoft never gave up on the idea of buying games. Now, we see a lot of this happening. Microsoft just in 2020, late 2020, had a massive $7.5 billion deal to buy the company behind Fallout and Elder Scrolls. and more. These are massive deals that Microsoft has continued to make over time to pick up game companies steadily to help grow the software on the Xbox to compete with Sony and others. Now it'll be interesting to see in the long run how this all plays out. How does Microsoft buying the maker of Fallout and Elder Scrolls change the face of gaming? We'll have to wait and see. But right now, it's clear that Microsoft's attempts to buy their way into the industry isn't unusual. A lot of companies do this, and it can be one of the most effective ways to get into a gaming industry. As if you have no cred in gaming, other than Microsoft being a PC gamer, having a company like Nintendo or Squaresoft or Midway Games to give you a huge catalog of games or to give you an existing customer base is a good way to jump into it. Well, there you go. There's a quick look at everything you need to know about Microsoft's attempt to buy Nintendo and what they ended up going on to do and why it probably was a good idea they didn't buy it. If you're new here, do me a big favor, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. It really does help because it lets YouTube know you enjoy what we do here, and hopefully we can show you some cool new things. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. We'll be back with another video real soon.